Good morning and welcome to our first live stream of Coffee with the Mayor. As most of you know, we host Coffee with the Mayor every month, but this month, due to the shelter-in-place order, social distancing, and everything that we're doing to keep ourselves and residents healthy and safe, we are doing a live stream. So we don't have it open to the public as we normally do, but we're happy that you all can join us from the comfort of your own home. I'm Giovanni Nixon, the Communication Director for the Village of Dolton, and today we have a special guest with us. He's not new to the Village of Dolton, but he's attorney Mario Reed, and he is going to discuss some economic strategies in response to COVID-19. This is vital information that you do not want to miss. Also, throughout his presentation this morning, we will have a question and answer session. So as you hear information on the screen, the things that he mentions, if you're curious about something, go ahead and enter in your question online, and we will answer those questions throughout the presentation. If you have questions after the presentation, please still send those in, and we'll work with Attorney Reed to make sure everyone's questions are answered. And of course, after Attorney Reed finishes giving his updates, Mayor Rogers is going to give some operational updates from the Village of Dolton and also give details about how the village has responded to the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's welcome Attorney Reed.
Thank you, Giovanni, and greatest of mornings, residents of Dolton, as well as everyone who watches. So, as Giovanni was kind enough to point out, my name is Mark, and I am an attorney here in the local area. Our offices are in South Holland, Illinois, and this past Friday, on yesterday, we had a Calumet City resident stop by the office who we assisted with signing up for the Small Business Administration's Economic Impact Injury Disaster Loan, and she indicated that she saw the Dolton live stream, and that's how she came to find out about it. So it's not just Dolton residents watching, it seems to be everyone. So thank you all for tuning in. So we are going to get started, and we're going to be talking about a lot of information on today. Some of it comes from the CARES Act, which we discussed the last time that we had a workshop. However, a lot of it comes from just a response to what's going on right now. So as an overview of what's going to be discussed, on today, we're going to be primarily covering 5 different topics. So the first one is related to mortgage. We have received lots of calls, emails, as well as messages via our Facebook page asking, what can I do regarding my mortgage? And one of the big reasons why is because a lot of us right now are in uncertain times economically, and because of that, understanding the differences between the different options that are available for paying your mortgage or having your mortgage deferred is critical. So we're going to talk about that first. The second thing that I want to touch on relates to our car loans. For most of us, that's our second largest expense monthly. I know for myself, that's my second largest. So understanding what your options are as it relates to your car loans, as well as dealing with those credit cards. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to always give you information that I know personally firsthand because of the fact that I've done most of these things that I'm going to be talking about on today. Third, we're going to talk about the small businesses. There has been a lot of information that has changed recently since when the CARES Act was originally passed up until now. There were supposed to have been advances of up to $10,000 going to small businesses within 3 business days. That has not happened. And then there were some restrictions that were put on those loans that came out within the last 2 or 3 days. So we're going to touch on those as well. Fourth, we're going to talk about those rebate checks. That's one of the top priorities for most American citizens because for a lot of us, we are looking for a lifeline. So that $1,200 or potentially more, depending upon if you have eligible children or a spouse, that is on the way. There's reports that indicate that those funds should be direct deposited as soon as Wednesday, April 15th. So we're going to touch on that just briefly. And then last but not least, we're going to cover protection. We've received a lot of calls, and we're very thankful and grateful because estate planning is one of the focuses of our practice area. A lot of people are asking, how can I ensure that if something happens to me during this time, how can I be protected? How do I set up a power of attorney? How can I make sure that I have my affairs in order? How can I make sure that my loved one has their affairs in order? So we'll talk briefly about that at the conclusion. Now, one of the notes that I want to point out, it is very important that everyone understand that all information in this presentation is the private information of myself, Attorney Mario A. Reed. It is in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the Village of Dolton or the U.S. government. This is information that I've culled together by doing individual research. It comes from a lot of different sources, some of which are online, some of which are from actually calling and speaking with individuals. So I just want to point out that this information comes from our firm, myself, and it's not something, I'm not here advocating or speaking on behalf of any organization or government municipality. Now, with that being said, we're going to get started. So mortgage repayment options. One of the things that a lot of individuals have questions regarding is what to do about my mortgage. I'm in the same boat, and it's a question in which I've asked numerous times. The first step to understanding your mortgage repayment options comes with understanding what type of mortgage you have. You first have to realize and find out, do you have a conventional mortgage, or by chance do you have an FHA, VA, or HUD mortgage? Now that's a lot of acronyms, and I apologize about that, but a HUD or an FHA, that's going to be a mortgage which is backed through a government loan. Those loans typically have what are called mortgage insurance, or PMI. Those loans operate differently than conventional loans. Conventional loans are typically through a private lender. So if you go to Wintrust Mortgage or Wintrust Bank and you work with a mortgage broker, Matt Ginn is a mortgage broker with Wintrust, if he signs you up for a loan which is directly through their bank, that is a conventional loan, as opposed to if you're applying for lending through Wintrust and they tell you that you have an FHA or a VA loan, that is different. Those are government-backed loans which have lots more flexibility in terms of repayment options as well as refinance options. For FHA, VA, and HUD, and VA are loans that are backed by the Veterans Affairs Office. Those are for our service members. Major thanks to all of our service members domestically and internationally. We greatly appreciate your service. Those loans are going to operate differently. If you have an FHA, a VA, or a HUD loan, as it's sometimes referred to because it's through the housing department for the United States government, I highly recommend contacting your loan service provider, and not just for those, but for all. So if, for all of your mortgage repayment options, you first have to contact your mortgage provider. Whomever services your mortgage is going to be who you need to contact. Don't contact FHA, don't contact HUD, don't contact the VA. Contact your mortgage service provider. So in my case, I have Freedom Mortgage. Freedom Mortgage is the lender which is servicing my mortgage. So I called Freedom Mortgage. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I was on the phone for an hour before I got a representative. However, I put it on speakerphone, and it was not that great of waiting music, but it was well worth it. And the reason why is because after I contacted my lender, the first question that I asked was, what mortgage deferral repayment options do you have? And that is the key. Your first question to your mortgage service provider should be, what mortgage deferral repayment options do you have? And the reason why is because when it comes time for you to repay your loan, there's a difference between what is called mortgage deferral and mortgage forbearance. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the next slide. But the first question that you want to ask is, what mortgage deferral repayment options do you have? And it's important to do that because a lot of loan providers, they're not interested in forthcomingly offering information about repayment options. When I went to my mortgage website of Freedom Mortgage, it talked about forbearance. It did not indicate what those options were. It simply said, if you need forbearance, you can take advantage, but we have forbearance options. It didn't talk about or discuss any of the mortgage deferral options. So that's the reason why you need to call and ask that question of, what mortgage deferral options do you have? Because more than likely you're interested in the deferral option as opposed to a forbearance option. Now, we're going to explore the terms of all the plans. I highly recommend, even though I understand it's going to take a while, you're going to be on hold, ask them, once you get a representative, what are all of my repayment options? Get a list of whatever they are. In my case, Freedom Mortgage offers 2 repayment options. So for dealing with my mortgage right now, they offer 2 different forbearance options. Now, typically, forbearance means that you aren't going to have to pay your mortgage for a particular period of time. So in my case, the forbearance option is for 3 months. So for the month of April, the month of May, and the month of June, I do not have to pay my monthly mortgage. That's an outstanding reprieve in my case, because instead of having to fork over that $1,200 each month, I'm now going to be able to allocate those funds to other expenses that are going to continue going on during this period of time. With the traditional forbearance plan, you will not have to pay your monthly mortgage for a period of time. Let's say it's for 3 months. So instead of paying $1,200 in April, $1,200 in May, and $1,200 in June, you won't have to pay anything. However, at July, when July comes along, you're now going to have to pay not only the $1,200 in July, you're also going to have to pay back the entire balance of the $3,600, which was missed during those last 3 months. So in total, you're going to need to come up with $4,800 in July. That's how traditional forbearance programs work. That's one of the reasons why most people don't want to take advantage of traditional forbearance programs, because if you don't have $1,200 in April, or don't think you'll have $1,200 in May, there's a great likelihood that you will not have $5,000 come July. So that's the reason why you want to inquire about how the forbearance program works. Now, in my case, Freedom Mortgage offered what is called formal forbearance versus informal forbearance. The informal forbearance works exactly like I described, where you have to pay the entire amount that was missed come July. So instead of it being a $1,200 payment in July, it would be a $4,800 payment in July, and that program is no good. I have zero interest in paying $5,000 this July. But after first explaining that program to me, the representative, she then explained that they offer what is called a formal forbearance program. And how the formal forbearance program works is that I won't have to make a payment for the next 3 months. So for the month of April, I have no payment. For the month of May, I have no payment. And then for the month of June, I have no payment. So I would have saved the $3,600 over the next 3 months. However, at the conclusion of June, I have to submit what is called a COVID-19 financial hardship notification. That's what this form is. I go to their website and then I can download this. At the conclusion of June, I'm going to fill this out and submit this to Freedom Mortgage in order to apply for what is called the formal forbearance. By doing that, they are then going to divide that $3,600 amount over the next 12 months, which equals $300, and they're going to add that $300 to each month for the next 12 months. So instead of my monthly mortgage payment being $1,200 come July, it'll be $1,500. And it will be $1,500 for the next 12 months. So until June of 2021, that's how much I'll pay monthly. That is their formal forbearance program. What's nice about this is that the formal divides relief period by the next 12 months. So right now, while we're dealing with this shelter in place, and a lot of people can't get out, can't earn income in the same way that they normally would, myself included, I'm going to receive a reprieve for the next 3 months. When it comes time to pay that back, instead of having to pay it all back as one lump sum, it's going to be divided up over the next 12 months. So that's the virtue of that. Some loan providers, Bank of America recently announced that they're considering it, as well as Chase has announced that they're planning on going to it as well. They are actually taking those payments and simply deferring them or moving them to the end of the loan. So there's lots of options available. However, you have to be willing to do the work of contacting your loan service provider. Each loan service provider is different. Freedom Mortgage offers one option, while your loan service provider may offer a different option. That's why you have to contact them directly. Now, do we have any questions? Okay, no questions.
It's an exciting question. All questions are exciting. All right, the question is, what happens to interest?
Great question. So the question is, what happens to interest during the period of time in which you have the reprieve? So that's one of the questions that you absolutely have to ask your loan service provider, because each loan service provider is handling it differently. Thankfully, in the case of Freedom Mortgage, that interest is not accruing. So it's not going to add any additional interest to the loan, because it's going to be paid over the next 12 months once I get out of the forbearance period. However, there's a difference between interest and finance charges. So you want to ask your lender, will there be interest charges accruing? Will there be finance charges applied? Each lender is different, so you have to ask the question. So when you're getting ready to make that phone call, I highly recommend have a piece of paper and a pen with you and jot down the questions that you want to ask. So you're going to ask, what mortgage deferral options do you have? You're going to ask, will interest charges be accruing? And you're also going to ask, will finance charges be applied? Those are some of the questions that you want to make certain to ask. And then depending upon what your loan service provider says, that's going to be the answer to the question, because each one is handling it differently. So great question. And okay. So I now want to give an example, and I want to show what it looks like in practice. And as I mentioned at the beginning, all of this information is information that I'm aware of because I did it myself. I'm not telling you about speculative things. I sat on the phone for an hour and a half. I talked to my representative, and I actually got to the bottom of my particular loan. What it looks like is this. So here is what my loan information looks like. I log into Freedom Mortgage, and up pops all of the information regarding the loan. Now, some people might say, why do you have 3 different mortgages? Well, the reason why is because I've refinanced my mortgage twice, because Freedom Mortgage was offering a lower rate. So they went from a 4.25% interest rate, and then I took advantage of the streamline through FHA. So that reduced my mortgage interest rate to 3.75. They called me back 6 months later and said, you can do it again. So I did. And I refinanced it down to a 3.25% interest rate. So that's why you see these 2 other mortgages. But the only one that I have presently is this one in the middle. And that is indicating that my monthly mortgage is essentially $1,200. So when I log in here, you'll notice that at the top it says COVID-19 update. The well-being of our customers is our top priority. If you have been impacted by COVID-19, please complete and return your COVID-19 hardship attestation form. So that's what it is that I was directed to go and complete. I simply logged into my service provider, and then at which point I downloaded that form. In downloading that form, and after speaking with the representative, she informed me that my monthly mortgage of $1,200 would be suspended for the next 3 months, which equals a total amount saved of $3,600. I will have no payment for the month of April, the month of May, and the month of June. They're then going to divide the total reprieve of $3,600 by 12. Because they're going to split up that $3,600 saved over the next 12 months. So when we do that, we get $3,600 divided by 12, equaling $300 additional per month. That is then going to be added to the next 12 payments evenly. There won't be any additional interest charges. There will be finance charges. However, that's going to be tacked in just as it normally would, depending upon if you're paying late and so forth. So they're then going, the other great thing is this will not impact my credit. So it will have no negative impacts on my credit. The loan service provider will not be contacting Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax telling them that I'm not paying my monthly mortgage for the next 3 months. They're simply not going to report. So it's not going to be negative. It also won't be positive, but it will not have a negative impact on my credit. That means that over the next 12 months, come July, my monthly payment will be $1,500, and that's going to be that way for July of 2020 through June of 2021 for each one of those months. And we have a question.
All right, another question is, are there any penalties for the deferment, seeing as though your loan will be longer than it was originally agreed to?
Great question. So the question is, will there be any penalties for deferring the payments? Because ultimately, the loan is going to be longer. In my case, the loan will not be longer because remember, I'm just taking the $3,600 and I'm paying it over the next 12 months come July. So my monthly or my loan period, it's going to stay the same. It's still going to be 360 months at the conclusion of the period. However, let's say you call your loan service provider and they say, we'll just move these payments to the end of the loan. There is no penalty for doing so. Now, some people always like to pay a little bit extra so as to knock down the principal balance. That's a prepayment. You need to check with your loan service provider to find out if there are any penalties for prepayment. However, the answer is no. If your mortgage service provider agrees to defer your payments during this hardship period to the end of the loan, it will have no impact or penalty on you paying your loan back. We have another question.
There's another question. For example, if someone chose to opt for a forbearance or deferment now, are the mortgage companies considering any previous forbearance or deferments that a lender may have taken for, unemployment or other circumstances?
That's a great question. So the question relates to eligibility. In the event that you've applied for a forbearance or a mortgage deferral in the past, or even a modification in the past, will loan service providers hold that against you when applying for a deferral, forbearance, or a modification at this point? The answer is it depends on the loan service provider. FHA and HUD loans cannot hold that against you. The federal government, pursuant to the CARES Act and several other initiatives, have indicated that they are requiring for loan service providers of FHA and HUD and VA loans to work with all borrowers during this time period, irrespective as to whether or not they've taken any hardship deferrals or forbearances or modifications in the past. So if you have an FHA, a HUD loan, or a VA loan, you can call in confidence knowing that the federal government has directed these lenders to work with you. Now, let's say that you have a conventional loan. That's up to that private bank. They have the authority and the right to make whatever decisions they want because it's their money. And because it's their money, they could potentially say to you, no, we will not work with you now because we've worked with you in the past. If that happens, I highly recommend you go on Facebook, you go on social media, and you absolutely destroy that lender and tell the world that they're not working with you because you've had troubles in the past, but you're having troubles right now that have nothing to do with you. That's how a lot of things get done. Oftentimes you'll see where the newspapers will pick up those stories and run with it, and they will shame the lender into doing the right thing. At this point, everything's kind of fair game, so have at it. But to answer the question, if you have an FHA, a HUD loan, or a VA loan, no, the lender cannot hold any previous reprieves against you right now. If you have a conventional loan, the answer is the bank can do whatever they want because it's their money. So, great question. So, as it relates to mortgages, this is the conclusion of that portion. I want to stress, everything that I've talked about today, I know to be true because of my lender. However, if you don't have Freedom Mortgage, then it's not necessarily going to be the same way. You have to contact your loan service provider directly. I know that it's challenging. I know that waiting on hold right now can be frustrating, but I can tell you from personal experience, it is well worth it. Being able to not have to worry about how I'm going to pay my mortgage for the next 3 months is a major relief. It took me an hour and a half to arrive at that, but it was well worth it because I now know for the next 3 months, there won't be any issues with where I'm going to be staying. So that takes care of the mortgage portion. Now we're going to talk about vehicle and credit card repayment options. When it comes to vehicle and credit card repayment options, it's the exact same way as it is for mortgages. Specifically, you have to contact your vehicle finance company or your credit card companies direct. For a lot of credit card companies and vehicle finance companies, they have their information on their website. Most of them understand that right now is a challenging time, and instead of forcing you to call into them, they're making the information available directly through their websites. Each servicer is different. Always contact yours directly. Do not rely on what your friend told you. Don't rely on what I'm telling you, because when it comes to your car note, only your finance company knows what options are available. So you have to contact them directly. Repayment deferral options typically move payments to the end of the loan. What you always want to get into the habit of asking during this time period are what repayment deferral options are available. You always want to start with deferral, and then as a last case scenario or a last resort, you want to go to forbearance. Deferral moves your payments to the end of the loan, or it spreads them out over a later period of time. Forbearance typically results in a temporary reprieve, but a balloon payment when it comes time to pay back the funds. And that balloon payment is going to include usually the entire amount of what you did not have to pay during the reprieve. For credit cards, you want to ask about hardship assistance due to the current circumstances. A lot of individuals pay a monthly finance charge through their credit card, which allows them to have suspended payments if a hardship comes along. Those hardships are usually if you lose your job, if you go and you become disabled for some reason, or you have an accident or a major life change. What most people are unaware of is that something such as the COVID-19 shelter-in-place order qualifies as a major life change for a lot of credit card companies. So you've been paying this monthly fee to protect you in the event that a major life circumstance happened, and surprise, surprise, we're here. A major life circumstance has happened. So because of that, the option to take advantage of a suspension in payments is something that you've been paying for all along, and now it's time to make good on that. Make sure to inquire about accruing finance and interest charges. When it comes to your car payment as well as your credit card payment, those usually have higher finance charges. Because they have higher finance charges and interest charges, even if those payments are suspended, there's a good chance that those charges are going to continue to accrue. And because of that, you need to find out at what rate will it and what amount will it result in when it comes time to pay back for those funds. And then you always want to inquire if there will be a balloon or a lump sum payment at the conclusion of the reprieve. That is typically what happens with a forbearance. If you have a traditional forbearance, what it means is that you will not have to pay your bills for 3 months or for 4 months or for 5 months. However, at the conclusion of that period, you're going to have to come up with all of the money that would have been due during that reprieve when it comes time to start paying back the bills. And that can be a major shock for a lot of individuals. So you want to ask, will there be a balloon or lump sum payment at the conclusion of the forbearance period? That's a question you want to ask. Do we have any questions? No questions, okay. And remember, if you have questions, feel free to type those into the chat window and we will get those questions addressed. At the end of each slide, we are taking questions, so any questions you have, feel free to post them and we'll get them addressed. Now, as I mentioned about the mortgage repayment, I have the actual proof as it relates to the the car note. So currently my vehicle is financed with Ally. So I went into my Ally dashboard right online, and it pops up where it says we can defer your next payment. So right via the website, I log in, and there's an option to defer my payment. In the case of Ally, they give you the option for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or 120 days. So 30, 60, 90, or 120. Being the fact that we don't know when all of this is going to kind of run its course, I elected to do the 120 days. If there would have been an option for 360 days, I would have taken that. Whatever option is the longest option, that's the one I elected to take. You do not have to take that. It's completely up to you. If you are a baller and you have no concerns about this, you don't have to go with the deferral option. However, in my case, because of the uncertainty, I elected to go with the 120 days. Thankfully, it also says all of the details concerning the interest charges and the finance charges. So you'll notice that by selecting the box, you agree to the following terms of the extension. You recognize that while we won't charge late fees, finance charges will continue to accrue on the unpaid balance at the contract rate. By deferring one or more installments, you will pay additional finance charges. This extension won't extend the duration of gap maintenance, life, or disability insurance that may be included in the original contract. So it's telling me that the finance charges are going to continue to accrue. I'm okay with that. Henceforth, why I decided to go with the 120 days deferment. What it means is that the next 4 months of payments are going to get moved to the end of my loan. So if I had a 5-year loan that I started in 2019, instead of it ending in 2024, it may now bleed into 2025. It'll be the same payment amounts, it'll be the same interest rate, it'll be the same amount in total that I'm paying as it relates to the loan. The only thing that will be different is that there will be additional finance charges. Those finance charges more than likely will total roughly $87 in my case, based on my loan. I'm perfectly okay with paying an additional $87 to not have to worry about paying my car note for the next 4 months. So you have to check with your specific finance company as well as your credit card companies, but you want to ask for payment deferral options. Payment deferral options. And we have a question.
Yes, we have another question. This resident stated it was about mortgage, but it can be applicable to the vehicle or credit card debt. It says that she's teleworking currently, so her salary isn't affected. However, her son and grandson typically help her pay her mortgage and other bills. And the question is, to your knowledge, do you think the mortgage company or any other lenders will still consider forbearance or hardship in her situation since she is technically still working?
Great question. So the question is, what if I'm still working? Similar to myself, I'm still working. I'm here and I'm not getting paid anything for it. But I'm still working. I still applied for the forbearance, and the reason why is because even if you're still working, you're still teleworking, or you're an essential employee who's yet going in, the federal government, pursuant to the CARES Act, has indicated that you have been impacted, because we all have been impacted in one way or another. Life right now is not the same. It is harder for all of us. So because of that, when I applied for the mortgage forbearance, they simply asked me, has your life been impacted by COVID-19? They didn't ask any of the specifics. They didn't say, how has it been impacted? They didn't ask about the specifics of what decrease in my income was received. They simply asked a direct question of, has your life been impacted by COVID-19? I don't know any human being who can answer that question no right now, because we all have. Things have been changed. The reason why she asked that question in that way is because the federal government has said if someone has been impacted by the coronavirus, lenders are expected to work with them. So she can take solace and feel comfortable about contacting the loan provider. And when they ask, have you been impacted? Say yes, because she has been impacted. We all have. That's one of the ways that a lot of loan providers are attempting to get around lending, is because when someone calls in, if they don't know how to answer that question and they say, no, I'm still working, then the loan provider will say, okay, you said no, you haven't been impacted, so we're not going to offer you these options. So the key is to answer the specific question which is asked. If they ask, has your life been impacted by COVID-19? The answer is yes. If they say, has your income? In her case, she's indicated that her son and her grandson were also contributing, so the income of who pays for the mortgage has been impacted. The key is to answer the question. If the question is what the federal government has required of, has your life been impacted? The answer is yes, and then you'll be able to continue through the process. When it comes to the loan service providers, they also, in terms of the finance companies, they're simply asking, have you been impacted as well? So for Ally, I did not have to fill out any forms. I did not have to provide any income verification. I simply went in, and on the dashboard, it says they can defer my payment. They didn't even ask me if I've been impacted. They just asked if I wanted to have it deferred. And the answer is yes. I want to have it deferred all the time. I'd like to have it deferred forever. But in this case, they're giving me 120 days. So because of that, I'm going to take them up on the offer. Thank you, Ally, for offering 120 days. Shout out to Ally. Any other questions? No other questions. All right, so we're moving on. So that takes care of the vehicle and the credit cards. So that's the second topic that we're going to cover. Now we're going to talk about the Small Business Administration. And this is an area where there is a lot of contentiousness. And that is because when the CARES Act was passed back in March, there were a lot of promises that were made as a part of this package. Virtually every one of those promises has been broken. However, the information that has been coming out still points to the fact that you can yet take advantage of these programs. It's just going to take a lot longer. When it comes to small businesses, there are two options available for lending pursuant to the CARES Act. The first option is what's called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is also the acronym of EIDL. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan is administered directly through the Small Business Administration. That Economic Injury Disaster Loan is available for small businesses with less than 500 employees, and they can apply for forgivable grants up to $10,000. Now, initially, when the program was offered, there were no stipulations on it other than you had to have fewer than 500 employees and a few other requirements related to not being a criminal enterprise, as well as not offering prurient sexual acts as a part of your business. Fair enough. However, recently in the last 2 days, the Small Business Administration's Massachusetts office has announced that they are now only providing $1,000 per employee. $1,000 per employee. Now that's somewhat disappointing because they did not announce this before making the application available. So for a lot of us who signed up for this program, we signed up indicating that we may be the only employee or we may only have 2 or 3 employees. Well, now the expectation is that we are likely only going to see $1,000 per employee that we listed. So if we listed 1 employee, instead of you getting $10,000, the Massachusetts Small Business Administration office has indicated you're going to get $1,000 as opposed to the $10,000. So that is a change which recently came down as recently as this past Thursday. It was announced by the Massachusetts Business Office for the Small Business Administration that loans will be granted for $1,000 per employee as opposed to the $10,000 in general, which was previously promised. Now, thankfully, whatever amount you received, you still can use that loan and have it forgiven so long as you use those funds to cover mortgage interest, rent, healthcare expenses, payroll expenses, or utilities. It is imperative that you keep documentation proving and confirming that you used those funds for one of those expenses, because eventually you will have to provide that to the Small Business Administration, and that is what will guarantee that your loan will be forgiven. The funds were supposed to have been direct deposited within 3 business days. However, the Small Business Administration has indicated that right now they're struggling because their system cannot handle the volume. According to a report in the Washington Post, approximately over 1 million small businesses have applied for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Apparently, the Small Business Administration wasn't expecting for over 1 million to apply. Don't know why that was, but that's what happened. So because of that, for 2 days at the beginning of this previous week, their system was down, so they weren't able to process any of those. Henceforth, why it's taken so long to get those funds direct deposited into the accounts that were provided. According to a report from Fortune that was published on yesterday, they do not have a timetable for when those funds are supposed to be issued. However, their hope is that they can start being issued by the end of next week. So come the 16th or the 17th is what Fortune has reported the Small Business Administration is hoping can be done. Do we have a question? You have a question?
Yes. Regarding the small business relief, we have some small business owners who might be newer and maybe have just recently started their businesses, and they have a perception that they would not be able to qualify for the relief that's available. Can you speak to that?
Yes. So the question is, when does my business have to have been established in order to qualify for the various relief programs through the federal government? So the answer is the business had to have been established by February of 2020. So long as the business was established by February of 2020, then they would be eligible. Now, some people will say, well, I had my business, but I hadn't formally incorporated it or hadn't formally registered it prior to February. Well, so long as you were operating in the capacity as a sole proprietor, which is also sometimes referred to as doing business as, or DBA. If you were a sole proprietor, you still have the option to apply for these funds because you can utilize your Social Security number to complete the application for the Economic Injury Disaster Loans. So if you are a newer business owner, however, you've been doing business for a while, you just recently incorporated, you can still apply by utilizing the same application, and then depending upon how many employees you have and so forth, that will dictate what type of assistance you receive.
We have another question. Someone said that they are a travel agent and they have a home-based business and would like to know if the program will still be applicable for them.
Great question. So the question is, what if I have a home-based business? I'm a travel agent, I'm a realtor, I make widgets, I mail out envelopes. All of those businesses are applicable. When you go into the application, travel agent is actually one of the specific options that does show up. So the answer is yes, absolutely. If you have a home-based business, whatever type it is, you can apply for the forgivable loan/grant program. You'll simply need to go in, access the Small Business Administration's Economic Injury Disaster Loan application, and then submit the information. It's going to ask for your EIN. If you do not have an employer identification number, you can use your Social Security number, and then you'll need to indicate that you're a sole proprietor doing business as. It will also give you the option to select which business activity you utilize. Travel agent definitely pops up. I've seen it numerous times. Great question. Any other questions? Okay. So once again, Mayor Rogers was kind enough to organize creating an opportunity for us to process the applications. And Mayor Rogers is here, so we're going to pause to give him an opportunity to just say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Mario, before you leave, last week or the week before, we got to keep that 6. And I have my mask. I just don't have it on for this presentation. But last week, or was it last week? And the week before, yes, you assisted some of the residents and some of the businesses owners here in the village of Dolton and other business owners in the city around the Chicagoland area. The other thing was, I got a call day before yesterday, and I called you in regards to one of the business owners here in the village of Dolton that you assisted received the approval of $10,000, and all they had to do was to send in their 1099 and they would receive a check. So it was a great thing that you did. We know it works now, so I know there was a number of people that you helped, and hopefully they'll be getting their assistance pretty soon. Now, not only this is what you do, Mario, but there's some other things that also that while we're quarantined at home that people should think about. The people can either plan to fail or fail to plan. And with this epidemic that's going around, the reality is there have been some deaths in regards to this epidemic that's going around. And a lot of times people are afraid of death, and they don't make plans. And consequently, what happens after they die, someone else is making their plans for them. And in some cases, they may not like what plans that they make for them, but death is inevitable. And it's important that people plan for death, and that they plan to make sure that things happen after the death, and when the death occurs, that those things are taken out, or planned. So I want you to talk just a little bit, touch on the estate planning, the will process, so we can educate our viewers and the people at home to take this time to plan. So if you touch on that a minute.
Yes, sir. So one of the key areas that Mayor Rogers is pointing to is the estate planning process. And one of the things that a lot of people are unaware of is that you don't need to necessarily just plan for death. You need to plan for if you're unable to take care of yourself. We've seen a spike in individuals who are going to the hospital right now. Most people are unaware that you need to have a power of attorney already in place before you enter into a setting such as a hospital, or even if you're at home and unable to make decisions. For a lot of people, having a power of attorney is critical because let's say that you're an adult who doesn't have a spouse. Your next of kin becomes the individual who is presumed to be your power of attorney. You may or may not want your next of kin. I like to use the example of myself. So I'm a 38-year-old man who is not married. If I was to have to go to the hospital to be on a ventilator, my parents are my next of kin according to the Probate Act. Because of that, my parents would then be in a position to have power of attorney. I do not want my parents to be my power of attorney. The only way that I can ensure that that does not happen is that I had to execute a power of attorney and name my siblings as my power of attorney. I have to do that while I'm right now in my right mind, as opposed to if I go to the hospital and I'm no longer in my right mind. So putting together a power of attorney is critical. For a lot of individuals, you'll want to see about doing what's called a durable power of attorney. A durable power of attorney is usually going to cover health care as well as financial and real estate decisions. It's a good idea to have a conversation with whomever you're going to name as your power of attorney as to whether or not you want to live on artificial life support or whether or not you want to be resuscitated. Those are decisions that your power of attorney will be in a position to make. In addition to that, it's also a great idea to start thinking about your last will and testament. A lot of times people think, well, I'm young, I'm in great health. Everyone needs a last will and testament because you don't necessarily have to pass away because you grew sick or natural causes. You can walk down the street and unfortunately have a complication that causes you to pass away. Your last will and testament is the document which allows you to establish what you want to have happen with all of your stuff. That includes your personal items, such as your clothes, your furniture. That includes any valuables, jewelry, heirlooms. That also includes designating who you want to be your executor. That is important because let's say that something happens, you go on a cruise, and then you pass away because of negligence of the cruise line. Your executor is the person who gets to determine whether or not your estate will sue the cruise line. They also get to decide what happens to the $10 million that the cruise line gives as a settlement. So choosing your executor is very important because that person can play a major role in what happens to your estate after you pass away. So having a last will and testament is critical, but what's most critical and the number one thing that our firm handles as a part of estate planning is designating beneficiaries for your house. If you have not designated a beneficiary for your house, either via a trust or a transfer on death instrument, if you pass away, your loved ones will have to go through probate court. Probate court can be a very expensive endeavor. It can range from $2,500 to up to $50,000, and it can be a very lengthy endeavor. It can take as long as over 10 years. James Brown's estate is right now still in probate, and he died on Christmas Day of 2006. So it is over 13 years that it's been going on. So getting your affairs in order is critical. If you are unsure as to what needs to be done in order to do so, you can always contact legal professionals. Our firm handles it. Here in the local area, several firms handle it. But during this time period, as Mayor Rogers pointed out, it's a great idea to start planning because, as he pointed out, either you can plan to fail or fail to plan. But in either instance, you're going to find yourself where your loved ones will really have to navigate some very challenging circumstances.
You know, Mario, when you talk about estate and people think, well, you know, I don't have an estate, you know, why should I do it? But they don't realize that part of that estate could be that old car that you got in the garage that hasn't ran for seven or 10 years or longer, and you're saving it. You got memories on it. That's part of an estate. If you got a riding lawnmower in your garage that you know you use to cut your grass, that's part of an estate. People think that, you know, I don't have any money in the bank, but they have material things, but that's part of the estate.
That is correct, and you are 100% correct. The number one thing that we hear from our clients is that I don't have a whole bunch, so I don't even really know why I'm doing this. And then we start the estate planning process, and as it turns out, they've got 50 grand in the bank, they've got 2 life insurance policies, they have furniture, they have heirlooms that have been in the family for the last 40 years that they want to make sure goes to the right person. If you are over the age of 18, you have something. And because you have something, it's best for you to determine where it goes as opposed to allowing the courts to determine where it goes.
Yeah, and you know, one of the biggest things that happens between families at the time of death, and in some cases before the person gets in the ground, there's arguments, there's disagreements over what that person has and who should get what. That's why it's very important to make sure that you have something in place to make sure that, hey, I may want my brother to get it, I may want my granddaughter to get it, I don't want my children to get it, I don't want my brothers and sisters to get it. So it's very important to make sure you do that. The other thing is life insurance. You know, today there's so many life insurance policies out there with no medical exams. Of course, there's contestability clauses in it for usually about 2 years if the person dies or commits suicide once they get the policy. But there's so many affordable policies out there that at least will take care of the burial, if you want the burial, or cremation or whatever. You know, you see a lot of times that families, I'm going to put a GoFundMe page up, and you know, they expect donations to cover the funeral and things like that. And sometimes GoFundMe pages are positive, and sometimes they get $3 in them and they don't get anything. But it certainly causes embarrassment sometimes when you have a death in the family and you cannot afford to bury and or cremate that loved one. So these life insurance policies today, I see them advertised up to 85 years old, no medical exam. Maybe you just want to get something that's affordable, get something just to cover the burial. Not necessarily that you want to leave something to somebody, but you want to leave the peace of mind to your family to make sure that your burial is dignified and is taken care of. So, but what I want to say to you is, do you have that link that's available for the small business application if anyone wants to go to that and complete the process themselves?
Yes. So the link is right here on the screen, actually. So the link is COVID-19relief.sba/gov/#. COVID-19relief.sba/gov/#. This is what the link looks like. So when you actually go to the website, at the Small Business Administration's website, this is what it will look like. It is going to ask you a lot of questions. One of the things that it's going to ask about are your net revenues. It's going to ask about your overhead, cost of goods. So it's going to ask those questions, but you can complete it yourself. You can also contact various professionals who are offering the availability to assist with that. It will require your EIN, as well as it's going to be asking for your personal information, including your account and routing number for your bank.
Okay, great. So make sure that you look into this. If you have a small business, make sure that that you contact Attorney Reed. If you need some assistance, he's available. Did you leave your number and everything?
Yes. So at the conclusion, we'll put up all the information. So if anybody has additional questions, we'll be able to take that as well.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm just going to go over a few things here. Thank you, as always, for coming. Attorney Reed has always been here to help our residents and give them some guidance and the different things that are going on here in the village, and also in regards to property values, property taxes, and things like that. Okay, I'm just going to go over a few things here. The Village of Dolton has taken steps to make sure that our administration is safe. Village Hall and the Water Department lobby is closed to the public, and we have abbreviated hours right now from Monday through Friday from 10 to 2. So you can actually call and get information, but no one will be allowed in the building, but you will get a response to those needs that you have here at the village. By executive order I issued on March 14th to suspend all the water shutoffs at least until the end of April. At that time, we'll take a look and see where we're at exactly to make sure that we are in compliance. We have maintained contact with the state of Illinois and Cook County in regards to the COVID-19 restrictions by the governor's office. We've taken in advice that to make sure that we model and stay on top of those things that we need to stay on top of in regards to this epidemic. The Village of Dolton has also, we have deep cleaned all our administration buildings, our police department, our fire department, and the police and fire department equipment has or will be deep clean each vehicle. Community Support Village Hall was a site of, and is a continuing site for the Thorn Ridge High School meal giveaway program for the last 3 weeks. There's several locations. I don't have all the locations, but one of the locations is Village Hall. District 205 is providing meals for the students at Village Hall here from 11:30 to 12:30 every day, Monday through Friday. I know it's happening at the Park District. I believe it's around the same time. And there's 3 other locations. Is that on the website? Yeah. Okay, it's on the website if you want to go to the website to find those additional locations. We've have distributed hundreds of meals to one of the senior facilities here. That's our Savior. Our fire department is conducting routine checks, checking on seniors, and we have distributed over 100 masks to the seniors at our Savior building. Small business loan application, we went over that. In the next 7 weeks, and we did it this past week, we had the food giveaway. Domino's Pizza was kind enough to pass out over 1,600 slices of pizza at the Domino's Pizza business at Evers and Sibley Boulevard. That went on from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. It was a great success. I mean, we had a lot of drive-ups. We had walk-ups. Of course, we paid attention to social distancing, and we're going to have 7 more businesses that have stepped up and said, Mayor, I want to contribute. I want to help, and I want to give back to the Village of Dolton. So some of those businesses are Dressed in Press, Sharks, Checkers, I don't have them all, but I'm sorry. Yeah, water integrated systems. So every week for the next 7 weeks, it's going to get us through to the end of May. There will be a business that will be passing out food. Some of it's canned food, some of it's going to be fast food. So please pay attention to that, and we will. Is that on the website also? Okay, everything's on the website. Some of the things that you can actually do. Oh, Mario, I want you to touch on this. But some of the things you can actually do when you're at home. You know, why don't you sit down and try having dinner together? You know, because with this busy schedule, kids are coming in at one time. If the father and mother is working, they're coming at a different time. Everybody kind of go for it for themselves and eat. So why don't you try just having dinner with the whole family at a given time where you can sit down and you talk to your family, talk to your kids, and get some of the things across the table, and maybe you can come up with some positive things in the family. There's also cooking recipes. You know, you're quarantined, there's stay at home. There's all on the internet, in the newspapers. There's simple cooking recipes that you may want to try. Now the weather's starting to get warmer. If you want to go out in the backyard, you can go out in the backyard, throw something on the grill. But we ask that you follow the governor's orders in regards to staying at home unless it's essential. If you got to go out and get groceries and things like that, that's fine. I understand that. Mario, I wanted you to touch on the check. I'm not sure if you talked about the CARES the stimulus check.
It's coming up.
Okay, all right. In regards to those people, you know, there's a lot of people sitting at home thinking, I'm just waiting on this $1,200 check to come to my house and go into my account. And the thing about it is that some people are going to be surprised because there's restrictions in regards to how those checks are going out and who's going to actually receive those checks. So I'm not sure if you touched on that, Mario.
Yeah.
Okay, so come on up. Why don't you touch on that?
Okay, so we're going to fast forward to the stimulus rebate check. So the stimulus rebate check is part of the CARES Act, which was designated, that was signed back in March, and those checks are arriving. We've actually seen reports through both Forbes as well as the Washington Post, which indicate that those checks should be distributed as soon as next Wednesday. So April 15th is what a lot of reports are indicating for the stimulus check. Now, Mayor Rogers pointed out that not everyone's going to qualify for the stimulus check. And the reason why is for a couple different reasons. First of which, the requirements are that in order to receive the full $1,200 amount, you had to have either filed single and made less than $75,000 as your adjustable gross income. Your adjustable gross income is what will determine whether or not you get the $1,200 check. Let's say your adjustable gross income was $110,000, you will not receive a stimulus check because the cutoff is $99,000. Now, in the case of married couples who file jointly, if you file jointly as a married couple, so long as your adjustable gross income was less than $150,000, you all will receive $2,400. Each of you gets $1,200, which is what gets us to the $2,400 number. Now, for those of us like myself who filed as head of household, meaning that you have yourself and usually a child, if you filed as head of household, so long as your adjustable gross income was less than $112,500, you will qualify for not only the $1,200 check, but also for $500 additional per child. So in my case, I have one daughter who is 10 years young. Shout out to Ariel, who I'm sure is sleeping at home. You just earned your father an additional $500. It is for all children younger than 17. So this is one of the recent changes that happened since we did the first workshop. So previously it was expected that if you had children who were 18 through 21, whom you were still claiming because they're in college or any other set of circumstances, they would qualify for the $500. There has been a decisive change by Congress and the Finance Committee that handled this, which indicated that the child has to be 17 years or younger in order for you to get the $500. Now, The direct deposits will happen for everyone who's filed their either 2019 or 2018 income tax returns, as well as those who are on Social Security and disability. You will get the funds direct deposited. Now, for those who received a paper check, or for those who haven't filed their income taxes, there's actually a recent change that occurred. So this is something which is brand new, and this comes directly from the IRS's website. So for non-filers, meaning for those of you who have not filed your income taxes, there are a lot of independent contractors as well as self-proprietors, a lot of barbers, a lot of beauticians who haven't filed income taxes in the last decade. And while we don't recommend that, it's just a fact of reality. For those of you who have not filed your taxes in 2019 or 2018, you can go to the IRS's website and you can sign up to still qualify to receive the $1,200 stimulus check. Now, by going to the website and signing up, it's going to put you into the system. You will not be receiving that stimulus check come next Wednesday like those who have already filed. However, you will put yourself in a position where you can hopefully still get the check. There's a good chance it won't be until next month, but getting it next month is better than never getting it. The website, and I apologize because it's a long link, but it is irs.gov/coronavirus/non-filers-interpayment-info here. You can go to the IRS's website and you can sign up to still qualify for the stimulus check, even if you have not filed your taxes for 2019 or 2018. So the option is available. Now, Mayor Rogers touched on the fact that not everybody's going to receive it. So unfortunately, one of the other things that we did find out with certainty is that anyone who has unpaid child support, your stimulus check will be intercepted. So you will not be receiving it. They're going to direct it to the child support payment that you are due. So for those who have unpaid child support, you can forget about receiving it. It has been confirmed that you will not be getting the payment. For anyone who earned between $75,000 and $99,000 as your adjustable gross income, you will receive a payment, but it will not be the full $1,200 amount. It gets reduced by $100 for every, I believe, $100 over the $75,000 threshold that you earned. So you'll still receive a disbursement, a stimulus check, but it will not be for the full $1,200 amount. So Social Security and disability, you will be receiving it. It should get direct deposited to the same account that you receive your benefits from now.
Mario, now what if you owe the IRS money?
Great question. What if you owe the IRS money? Thankfully, the IRS is providing that you will still get your check. So even if you owe the IRS, whether it's back taxes or it's taxes for this year, you still will receive the rebate check.
Okay, now what if I'm on Social Security and I'm required to file, but I haven't filed?
Great question. So for those who are on Social Security or disability who have not filed, the federal government has said it's okay. They're still going to direct deposit those funds into the same account that you're receiving the Social Security as well as the disability.
And then, of course, there's this people, the recipients of Social Security, that do not have to file.
That is correct. Yep. So irrespective as to what the situation is, if an individual is on Social Security or disability, the federal government has said they will get the stimulus check, and more than likely it'll be quicker than even those of us who aren't on those benefits because they already have their account information that they're sending to every month.
Okay. Now, I read something a couple of days ago is that in regards to the stimulus check, and they said some of these checks may not go out until next year. Why? What is the reason for that?
So for those whom the IRS has to check on addresses, for individuals who have moved, for individuals who they're not certain if they're in the country, for individual military families and so forth, the IRS has indicated that they don't want to send checks to the wrong destination. Right. So because they're striving to get through all of the direct deposits, that's their main focus now. That's going to take some time. Once they've done that, they're then going to come back, and for all of the non-filers, they're going to attempt to get through them. So when it comes time to send out checks, those paper checks for individuals whom they have reason to believe are not still at that same location, they're going to delay those checks to hopefully get a good address to have it sent to. For people in that predicament, you can go to the IRS's website, and there is an address update form, so that way you can notify the IRS, this is where I'm at. If I was getting a paper check, send that paper check here, and hopefully speed up the process.
Now, some of our seniors aren't computer savvy, and in some cases they don't have computer access. They can't go to the website. How can they notify the IRS that if there's an address change or they got a different bank account and they want that check to deposit to a current bank account or address?
So great question. And this is one of those instances when I would truly ask for anyone who has a senior in their life to step up and help out their family members, because their option is they can either call the IRS. However, right now, because of all the things that are going on, wait times are estimated at over 6 hours when you call the IRS.
More like 6 days.
Or even possibly 6 days. Or the other option is, for all those seniors, call your loved ones. They're right now probably sitting at home not doing a whole lot. Ask them to give you a hand in getting your information entered with the IRS to ensure that you get those very necessary and much needed funds.
Yes, and the very important thing is to look out for scams.
Yes.
Of course, when you get the benefits like this, that's out here doing this crisis situation, really you got scams. You got people calling you, and it's not beyond some of the family members to try to scam you out of your check or try to get portion of your check. So hopefully there's someone in the family or a very good friend that can help you and assist you with that to make sure that you steer away from these so many scams that are out here.
Absolutely.
I think that's, you covered everything great. You know, as you always do. You come in.
Thank you.
Always to Coffee with the Mayor, and you assist a lot of the residents here. Okay, I want to talk about this COVID virus. We have a number of infected residents in the village of Dolton. I think Trustee Ed Steve advised me this morning that as of today, I think it's about 80 to 82 residents here that's affected in the village of Dolton. And actually, I want to take a moment right now to announce that we've lost one of our library trustees, Miss Robinson. I think it was yesterday. And I'd like to take a moment of silence, if you will, to remember her. She was a great supporter, great person that helped out at the library board, helped out at the village, always had questions in regards to guidance and things like that. So I want to just take a moment of silence for Ms. Robinson, Dolton Library Trustee. And I want you to remember all the families that are affected here with this COVID. It's a terrible thing, and you have to take it serious. You have to take it serious. You know, the African American community has been hit really hard with this virus. A lot of it's because of the underlying health conditions, diabetes, heart, coronary issues. So you have to be very careful and take this serious. Take this serious. I have 100 masks left. I had 231 masks that was donated to the village, and we gave 105 masks to our Savior. Right now, I have a little bit over 100 masks that are left. If anyone needs a mask, please contact our office or contact, if you look viewing right now, contact, okay, Giovanni, Facebook Live. Now, please, these masks are very hard to get. And please, don't call up and say, I need 25 masks. I need 17 masks for my house. If we're only going to go, first of all, they're going to go fast. It's going to be first come, first serve. And there will only be 2 masks that are donated to any one household. And as we get more, and I'm expecting more this coming week, I'm not sure how many. We've had commitments. I tried to order some. I couldn't get them. But we've had commitments for donations, and I'm expecting hopefully another 100 to 200 masks coming in by Wednesday. And make sure that you call, leave your name, your number, your address, and your number. If you can't get out, we'll deliver those masks. So we want to make sure that our residents are protected, and we're taking every measure that we can to assure that. Giovanni, why don't you come on up? Giovanni is our new communications director. And I want her to talk a little bit about, and she's more up to speed than me on this COVID thing. She's in there every day making sure that she's getting advised on the updates. And she's not expecting me to bring her up here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the COVID.
All right, community, as you've noticed, we've been sharing information on our website and our social media channels, but just to make sure that our residents are aware and informed, some of the key things with the COVID-19 coronavirus, of course, we know about social distancing. So if you do need to leave your home for essentials, because the stay-at-home order from Governor Pritzker states that we are to stay at home unless you are leaving for essential services. Essential services would include grocery shopping or meal pickup if you're a first responder, if you're a medical care provider, or if you have a doctor's appointment. So for essential services, when you are leaving the house, make sure you have a mask like this one. If you don't have a mask like this, you can make a mask at home. We'll post some pictures up of different masks so that you're aware of the different options you have. Make sure that you stay 6 feet away from anyone that you encounter, because if someone sneezes or coughs, we know that germs spread that way. And the 6 feet distancing is to make sure that you don't get any bacteria or germs or viruses from someone that may cough or sneeze in your vicinity. Also, hand washing we know is critical. There's been some questions and debates about wearing gloves. We do encourage that everyone wears gloves, but it's still important to wash your hands. So for example, let's say if you were driving your car and you had gloves on, everything that you touched when you got out of the car now leaves germs on the steering wheel. So make sure that your hands are being washed before you touch your face, before you eat, just to make sure you're mitigating the spread of any germs or bacteria. Another key thing that we've noticed with the coronavirus from many calls that Mayor Rogers has been on with other mayors in the surrounding area, and also some national calls that we've been on from the White House, is to make sure to keep stress and anxiety levels low at this time. We know that a lot of people are panicking, people are afraid, people are fearful, but we also know that stress, having your blood pressure elevated is not helpful. It can weaken your immune system. So do things that just help relieve your stress and anxiety, whether it be like Mayor Rogers stated earlier, connecting with family, reaching out with family or friends, watching things on social media, just to try to reduce your level of stress and anxiety, making sure you're eating healthy, which is important because you want to keep your immune system strong. A strong immune system is the best defense against any virus or any illness. So those are some of the key things. If you go to our website, www.vodolton.org, we have a link that says COVID-19 updates on the homepage. When you click that link, it'll take you to a list of resources from the national and state level so that you can stay informed. And also when you follow our social media platforms, we're continually providing information on COVID-19. If you do have questions, we welcome those. You can call Village Hall or you can email communications@vodolton.org, and we'll do our best to answer those questions as well. And that is it. Oh, sure. Also, If there's a communication related question that you have, you can call me directly. My number is 708-201-2960. So give me a call if there's something that you need, and we make sure that we are here to support all of our residents, because we know this is a national crisis and residents have concerns that are valued, and we want to make sure we do our best to take care of everyone. That's it. Okay.
Thank you, Giovanni. You know, I've been seeing a lot of jokes in regards online and talking about, you know, if I'm home with my husband or my wife or my kids for another 30 days, coronavirus won't kill them or kill me. You know, we are seeing an increase in domestic issues since everybody's at home. You got to think about it. If the husband and wife are out of the house 10 to 12 hours a day, the kids are out of the house 8 to 10 hours a day, they're going to school, and by the time they get back, they're spending maybe 4 to 5 hours or less with the family, and then they go to sleep for 8 or 10 hours or whatever the case may be. And a lot of these families have not been in that situation for a long time, if they have. You know, you got a new baby, there's financial crisis, there's unemployment, there's different things that are affecting the family now that wasn't affecting family a month or so ago. So, you know, take a breather. It's getting a little bit warmer. Walk outside in the backyard, or walk out on the deck, on the patio, or on your balcony, or out front. Get some air. Come in. But please don't take it out on one another. Don't take it out on one another. Figure out a way where you can all live together and survive this thing. You know, it's going to come to an end. We don't know when, but eventually it's going to come to the end. We want to make sure that everybody that's out there now survive this thing and get through this thing. You know, I want to say that we're saying our prayers for all those families that's been affected here in the village of Dolton by this COVID-19. And if we can assist you, please don't hesitate to call. If you want to get a response quicker, please call Miss Giovanni Nixon's direct line. She'll get back to you and make sure that someone gets back to you. That's 708-201-2960. Now, this morning I have a friend here that just loves kids. He's from our area. He's a Thorn Ridge football great, and I always say that. And he said, "Oh, Mary, don't say that." But he's played sport. Rod Cheney, come on up, Rod. Rod is helping kids today. He coaches so many kids, and he gets involved with so many things in helping our youth. So I wanted Rod to say a little bit in regards to what some of the youth can do while they're out, and also some of the things that he's going to put together, or that he's putting together here in the village of Dolton, to make sure that our youth has some input.
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, you guys are doing a fantastic job. Citizens, please, one thing I want to say is that heed the warnings of the mayor and the staff about staying safe during this period. To all the youth that's out there, you know me. My name is Coach Cheney. You already know. But I'm telling you, this is serious, guys. I drove around the neighborhood. I see you guys at basketball courts, outside. And I understand you want to get outside. Everybody has that cabin fever. But what I'm telling you guys from Coach Cheney, the Mayor's Youth Initiative, stay inside. Stay in your backyards, front porch. Don't go any further than that. Now, what we're going to do as part of the Mayor's Youth Initiative, when you pick up your meals Monday through Friday, we're going to also pass out from the mayor and the staff, we're going to pass out little Easter gift bags, okay? Because we understand when you're in there, you got that cabin fever, you know, a parent says, okay, I done did everything, I went to A, B, C, D, E, okay, what else is there to do? So we're going to have some games in this little bag. We're also going to have little coloring books, and we're going to have some crayons, but we're also going to have some Easter. We want to make sure also that you understand that life goes on. You still can have fun with each other, with your siblings, with your sisters and brothers and cousins. You can have fun right at home and play games. So as you guys know me, I always like to drill. I would like to have fun with recreation, but you can do, this is the opportunity for you guys to do some fun things at home. So let's try to do that, okay? Exercise every day. Try to exercise every single day. Okay, if you just do push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, okay? One of the things that Mayor was talking about, we're going to do a fitness program, and we're also going to broadcast a fitness program. This is some things you can just stretch. You can just be at home, and you can stretch your limbs at home, okay? You can stretch your back. You can bend down. These are little bitty simple things, but believe me, it makes a big difference in how your physical health and how you communicate with each other. And the second thing is, be more patient and tolerant of each other. Siblings, we know you got to get into it, okay? But be a little bit more patient and tolerant of each other, okay? Things are going to happen, sure, but remember, your family. This is a community of many, many families, which makes it a big family. And the only way that this community works, we all work together for the good of the whole. So please, work together, help each other out. If you have seniors that need help, don't hesitate to help them. But young people, stay in the house. I can't say that enough to you. Stay in the house, backyard, maybe front yard, that's it. I do not want to go drive around and see you at these basketball courts. That's a no-no. I don't want to go see you in these playgrounds. That's a no-no. That's the first place that this virus can capture you. I do not want to see that. I know you're getting cabin fever. I understand. And we're going to have many, many programs. Me and the mayor are working on a list of programs at this time. But until you get the okay, stay at home. Let's be proactive. And then you're going to look forward to staying to this simulcast. And we're going to do fitness programs for the adults and the youth. Okay? I think that would go a long way to some physical and mental health. Okay? So with the meal program, we're definitely going to give away the Easter gift bags.
Oh, right. I just was advised that the meal program ended yesterday.
Oh, it did?
Someone just advised us, just watching this live stream, advises that the meal program ended yesterday. So we got to figure another way how to give out these little bags that you put together. Giovanni just had a good idea. If you come through the drive-through, which is open 10 to 2, you don't have to get out of the car. They can actually pass out some of those.
That's an excellent idea, man.
Pass out some of those.
Giovanni, that's an excellent idea.
Yeah. Now, some of the people don't have mobility in regards to getting these things, so we need to figure out a way to.
Maybe they can call in, and I tell you what, with the mayor's permission, I would deliver it to you.
Okay.
Okay? We'll make that happen.
That's great.
Okay? Because we understand we're all in this together.
Yeah. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you so much.
Rod has put these small little bags in. Don't expect a $300 Easter basket, because it's not a $300 Easter basket.
It's a small token of our appreciation.
Yes.
Not a big one.
And to be quite frank with you, we were going to try to get some Easter baskets to give out, because we thought about the children,
Yes, yes.
And a lot of the wholesalers said we did not order Easter baskets because of this coronavirus.
Yes.
The thing is, you just stay at home, don't come out, just come out for essential things, and it was just tough to
It's devastating.
do that.
It's really devastating at this point.
Now, one of the things, some of these businesses, some of the residents that want to contribute, they said, Mayor, you know what? I've got 50 packs of sausage I want to contribute. I've got, I got 100 chickens I want to give you, Mayor. And it's so hard to determine who, in fact, should get those. Because sometimes the people that really don't need them, they're in line waiting to get it. And some of the people that need it can't get out. They don't have transportation. And if you give somebody one thing, and the other person, well, why did they get it and I didn't get it? So I thought about some of the things that we may get that's only 50 or 100 items or 75 items or 30 items or things like that. What I'd like to do is, if you know someone that really needs it, we'd like to get that to those people, to those residents. And I thought about a lottery. I thought about when we get 30 items or 40 items or things like that, if you need it, please, only if you need some assistance. And I know in this time there's families that need assistance. That's on limited income. And call Giovanni. Call her number, and she's looking at me like, man, I'm gonna have 1,000 phone calls on my voicemail. But we would try to get out and touch each one of those people, and things, when they're gone, they're gone. They're gone. And I'm reaching out to these businesses and be quite frank with you. Mary, sure, we're willing to help. These are these residents have kept us in business, and hopefully all those that are shut down now will survive this thing and open back up, because we heard, and I've heard from a couple of businesses, Mayor, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this. I'm not sure. It's gonna be like starting a new business all over. And if I do, or if I am able to get back and start this business over again, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to afford the employees to work there. So hopefully everybody can get through this thing. Hopefully all our businesses will survive. They'll stay here to be able to serve the community. But we have to all pitch in. We're in this together, and we got to make sure, in fact, that we hold on. We hold on. We get through this. Now, look, being optimistic, I'm not sure that this 30-day for April that's supposed to end at the end of April is actually going to be the end of the stay-at-home social distancing end. I mean, from what I've been hearing and what I've been seeing, sure, we're the next 2 weeks is supposed to be a peak season for us, and it probably more likely will go through the end of May. Schools, the governor just spoke yesterday. He's going to take a look and see how this lasts over the next week, 10 days or so, whether the schools are going to go, whether the children are going to go back to school. So I know some of the states, I know California, Georgia, they have canceled the school year. They don't go back until September. Hopefully this thing is over by September. But I'm not sure, and I'm not that optimistic that our kids are going to go back to school, our children are going to go back to school. So if you can help, if there's some things you'd like to volunteer for, I won't say volunteer because you're not supposed to be out there, but if you can, if you want to donate something, some businesses that want to contribute, please contact Giovanni. Like I said, for the next 7 weeks, there will be one business that will give away first come, first serve, meals, canned food, food items. We will announce it every week. And actually, the weather's still a little bit unstable. So what we did was we were looking at the 10-day forecast. Those days that appear to be warmer, where people are out, at least doing their essential travel, will be a little bit more conducive for us to pass out the food. There are local food pantries that are assisting with food. And last night I saw in the news that there is really a need to help feed these individuals and these residents and people that are actually in need of food. Now, this financial crisis has not only just touched the businesses, it's touched the village of Dolton and a lot of these other communities. I stay in contact with some of the local mayors and ask, hey, well, Mayor, what are you doing in your community? What's happening with you? We have some of the communities that have already laid off some of their employees. Some of the things that we're going through right now is that those businesses that are down, we're not receiving sales tax from and will not receive sales tax from while they're down. Video gaming, which we receive over $200,000 on an annual basis from our share of the video gaming, that's done. All the video gaming is shut down. Property taxes are down. So, those are some of the struggles that this village is going through, but we still have to operate. we still have to provide services, although at a reduced rate like all the other towns, but we still have to provide services. One of the most important things is that we stay solvent, that this village stays solvent, does not wind up in a bankrupt state, but we are constantly monitoring our financial situation and the things that we need to do to alter to make sure that we provide those services for you to the best of our ability, and to make sure that that we're still here. That's one of the most important things. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching our live version of Coffee with the Mayor. Some of you have been with me for the last 7 years. We've only missed 2 coffees with the mayor. No, I take it back. 3 coffees with the mayor in the last 7 years. Every month, every second Saturday of Coffee with the Mayor, we're here providing information. It's an informational forum that we try to provide for the residents. And we have some faithful attendees, the residents that's at every Coffee with the Mayor. They may have only missed a few. And but please, assist your neighbor now. Assist your friends. You know some elderly people? Make sure that you give them a knock on the door, give them a phone call. How you doing? You need anything? Can I go grocery shopping for you? You know, make sure we all got to help each other. And I'm going to say this. If you get old, you know, a lot of times when we're young, you say, oh, them old people over there. But I'm going to tell you, if you live, you're going to get old. And depending on how long you live and how healthy you are and how active that you are, you're going to need some assistance. So I want you to always remember that. None of us want to die, but that's inevitable. But if we live, you're going to need some help. You're going to need some assistance. So remember that. Help your family members. Help your neighbors. And make sure that you look out for your residents. And please, be safe. So I'm going to end this Coffee with the Mayor by putting my mask on. Yeah. And you know, when we do live streams like this, and we do have some interaction with some of the residents or some of the people that are watching the live stream, Mayor, put your mask back on. You know, it's kind of difficult to, in some cases, this mask is a little bit thicker than the other mask, but sometimes it's a little difficult to breathe in. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult for you to hear what we have to say. So thank you all for coming today. Next Coffee with the Mayor, hopefully we can be back in place where we'll have it where you can actually come out. But if not, we'll be doing this again. Do not hesitate. If you got any questions, call the number 201-708-201-2960. Thank you all for coming this morning.